So obviously right now we're seeing Bitcoin break back above the 200-day moving average, which is awesome. In today's video, we're going to talk about, can we see an altcoin blow off top before 2025? And this is going to go into my last video where we talked about, can we see Bitcoin top before 2025? Kind of going against the grain just a little bit of the 4-year cycle theory and why that could happen, right? So let's talk about that today. Obviously, we're seeing Bitcoin get back above the 200-day moving average, which historically has been a really, really good signal for BTC. And across the board, we're seeing altcoins get a really, really, really nice bounce to the upside. Okay, so we're going to go into this a little bit. And this is completely going against the grain a little bit. And actually, it's not really going against the grain, to be fair. A lot of people have this theory, but my whole theory is, and why I believe that Bitcoin is going to top in 2024 and not 2025, is simply that I believe that this is just Bitcoin's second cycle, right? It's more of a 6-year cycle rather than a 4-year cycle, where Bitcoin has this first mid-cycle where it double peaks, corrects, and then has a more traditional blow off top, right? Comes up, double peaks, and then comes down, and then has a more traditional blow off top, where if we put this of this first cycle overlaid over this cycle right here, that would put the top coming in right at the end of 2024 or in the beginning of 2025. And that leads us into, can we see altcoins top before the end of 2024? Okay. And this is going to go into real quick. Let's take a look real quick at Bitcoin dominance. Okay. So Bitcoin dominance, we've been talking about this for over a year, but haven't been very positive about altcoins lately. But lastly, over the last few weeks, we've seen Bitcoin dominance come up and test this trend line, okay, where this was right here, the start of the 2017 run, where altcoins started to outperform BTC. Right here back in 2020, we hit this. This is when altcoins started to outperform BTC. And just recently, over the last 3 weeks, we've seen this act as some resistance, right? Where this was kind of cruising up, but all of a sudden we've tapped this. And we're starting to see, if you guys take a look across the crypto market, we're seeing Bitcoin bounce, but a lot of altcoins are starting to outperform Bitcoin, right? Not all of them, which is typically the case, but a lot of them are starting to outperform BTC, at least here in the short term. And if we zoom in, what you'll notice is it's been this is not just like a 1 week resistance. We've hit this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks in a row. 7 3-day candles in a row, and we haven't been able to break back above, okay? So is this the start of something? And I've said this, if there's ever a time where altcoins can start outpacing Bitcoin and we can see a really, really good altcoin rally, it's either now or it's probably not going to happen for a while, okay? So real quick, let's look at total 3 and why this is so similar to last cycle, and I think why we have all the parameters for this to happen. So just to start off with, obviously, a lot of the times what makes altcoins go up is more liquidity going into markets. And what you guys will notice is we're starting to see global liquidity for the first time since early 2022 starting to break into new highs, which means more money is coming into markets to be able to put into markets, right? Altcoins are driven by liquidity, they're driven by hype cycles, and you get hype cycles because there's more new money coming into the market. And you're seeing more new money coming into the altcoin, well, not into the altcoin market, but into markets, being available to put into markets, and that should pick up for the altcoin market. If you guys just take a look at when global liquidity typically bottoms, right, that typically is when altcoins bottom, right? When global liquidity bottoms, that's typically when altcoins bottom. Bottoms, altcoins bottom, bottoms, altcoins bottom, right? That's typically what you see across the board. So we're seeing this break into new all-time highs, which if you take a look at what happened in 2020 when it broke into new all-time highs, it was right around here in November, December 2019, and we started to come back up. We did have the COVID crash, but you can see that obviously that November and December 2019 right here was relatively near the low before this started to break into new all-time highs, and altcoins started to really, really, really perform well from that point. This is obviously the total 3 chart. So we're seeing, once again, global liquidity is breaking through those highs now, okay? So what we should expect, if history is going to repeat, is altcoins should continue to follow global liquidity, which is to the upside, right? Now, if we go look at, real quick, let's take this off and we just look at kind of where we are, right? So back in the previous cycle, what we had over here back in 2020 and 2021 is we had this bear market range right here, right? And you guys can see that we broke out and then we had this long consolidation period right on top of that previous range, right? Before breaking out. Now, what you'll notice is we actually hit a low in this range on this pullback right at the beginning of September, okay? And where we are coming up to right now, we're actually coming up to the beginning of September. And what you'll notice is we're doing a very similar thing right now where we have this bear market range right here, right? And we've come up and we've broken out. And what you'll notice is we've come back down and now we've tested this range. And this has actually been a longer consolidation and a longer back test, which means that this move could be even more explosive to the upside if we do get this move. So right now we're coming up to test this little down sloping trend line. If we zoom in, we're coming up to test this down sloping trend line. We're coming right up to resistance. So it doesn't mean we have to break out right away. We could pull back one more time first, but I am looking for this green support to hold and build a base here before moving up, possibly into September or into October, all right? Just like we did over here, where we bottomed in the beginning of September, we went sideways in September, and then starting in October, that's when we started to really start to branch up and break out of those highs. Okay, so that's kind of what I'm looking for here. And it kind of goes into our Bitcoin returns, right? Typically, September is not a very, very good month for Bitcoin. So September could still be boring. I hope it's not, obviously. All the moon boys, including me, want prices to go up. But September could be boring, but Q4 of election years typically are really, really good, right? Plus 27%, plus 43%, plus 46%. And then in 2016, plus 14%, plus 6%, and plus 31% in Q4 of 2016 and 2020. So that's kind of where we're at. And I think what's going to stop people from thinking that this is true is, one, we think Bitcoin dominance is going to go higher, which it could, right? My invalidation for this theory is if we see Bitcoin dominance start to roll up higher, I think this cycle could go into 2025. If we continue to see this act as resistance and this start to move down, I think it's likely we're going to hit a peak in 2024. And I think the other thing is there's not most people will say, Jordan, there's not enough time in the cycle for us to hit a peak by the end of 2024. And I would disagree with that, because if we actually look, let's actually bring up Bitcoin weekly fifth wave. If we actually look at typically, when Bitcoin breaks through new all-time highs, if you look at last cycle, Bitcoin broke all-time highs in December of 2020 and hit its peak by March, right? So in the span of 3.5 months, Bitcoin went from breaking its all-time high to hitting its next all-time high, okay, in 3 months. And if you look at Total 3, when Total 3 did this, when it broke up from this point, which was at the end of November 2020, to its peak, which was in May, that took about 5 months, okay? Right now we're in August. If you break that out to 5 months, that's going to come up to January of 2025. So I've always said this. If we're going to see Bitcoin dominance top right here, which it may not, or it may, okay? I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball, but if we do see it top right here and move down, typically these big altcoin runs are very, very quick in time. They don't last very, very long, all right? Very, very quick in time, very, very quick in time. They're very, very quick, and they don't allow people to get on to the boat until it's too late, okay? It's always quicker than people think. And if it does happen, which has always been my theory throughout this range, that we're about to see Bitcoin go into a fifth wave, which is going to be Bitcoin's last move up for this cycle before we're going into a pretty brutal bear market, which I think is going to be more brutal than the previous bear markets. If Bitcoin's going to this last fifth wave, typically on Bitcoin's last wave is when altcoins really start to pick up steam and start to outpace Bitcoin, okay? So this is my theory going into Q4. August and September, we said, can still continue to be boring, even though we are seeing some really, really nice bounces on altcoins. But volatility is compressed. We're seeing stock markets like the Russell, like the SPY, breaking into new highs, okay? Which is exactly the recipe that we typically want to see. we're seeing Bitcoin start to come back up, break back above its 200-day moving average. The recipe now is, one, we hit the Bitcoin dominance trend line. Two, what we need to see typically for altcoins to start going up a lot is we need to see Bitcoin break into price discovery, and we need to see stock markets continue to go up. We have two of those things happening. The last recipe I think we need for altcoins to really pick up steam is get Bitcoin into price discovery, which maybe could take into October, maybe could happen now. But I think we're going to, by Q4, we're going to see Bitcoin into those new all-time highs. And we're going to see altcoins start to outpace BTC in Q4 of this year. Okay, so that's kind of my base case going forward. And I want to show you guys why this is. And it really is because I do believe that we are reaching the final parabolic phase on Bitcoin for this cycle. And it's going to be a lot of because of the hype of rate cuts. It's going to be a lot of the hype of Trump possibly winning the presidency. A lot of these things combined is going to create a lot of hype for the crypto market. And typically when you start to get that parabolic phase and a lot of hype in the crypto market, you are getting close to the end of the cycle. All right. So I'm going to stream today, but I wanted to make a quick, concise video to put all my thoughts of why I think this is going to happen in this video today. It's combined of macro stuff. It's combined of crypto cycles. It's a combined of altcoin cycles, but a lot of good juicy things happening right there where I think the recipe is there across the board. Now we just need to see it happen, right? So I'm out of here, guys. Have a great day. I'll be back for the live stream at 7 p.m. tonight. So catch you guys there. Take care. Much love. And we'll see if all this fun stuff plays out. All right. Peace.